Okay, let's start. Sorry, we have a last-minute technical issue.
There's a pile of cables in front of us. We were looking for the right one. Our main light broke yesterday.
Yeah, so it means that there will be a very cool class. Okay, let's start with the motivation. Close your eyes and think why you are here, independently on your role here, whether you are helping as a technical assistant or a translator, or you just came as a participant. Think why you are here. And if you understand that everything comes from your deeds, from what you think, you say, and you do, then the only thing that is really worth doing is to study how you can change your world for the better. And imagine how wonderful it will be if you will resolve all your problems, all your questions, stop all your mental afflictions forever. If you will be really free. And if you can teach other people how to do the same. And this is your payment for this class. Open your eyes.
I would like to say something.
Okay.
This class and everything we're going to study.
I'm not translating you.
Can never tell, right? It's for people who have problems, right? And if you're human, you have problems. And it's not a matter of being on the Buddhist team or the Christian team or the Muslim team or scientific team or the moneymaker team, the businessman team. If you're human, you have problems. And then you look at what those problems are, and then, well, how are you going to solve them, right? And this entire series of courses is an extremely sophisticated look at the cause of the problems and the solution to the problems. So ultimately, although some of the language may be Tibetan, it's for everybody, right? It's for anybody who's human. Mm-hmm. And there's thunderstorms out today. So
yeah, I don't know if you hear, but we are in the epicenter probably of the thunderstorm right now.
It's really, I frankly, I love summer thunderstorms. It's really,
I love it.
It's really relaxing to sit inside and be dry.
I actually want to go outside after the class.
Go walk, sure, yeah, sounds like fun. But so everything we're going to discuss today, they're all major ideas. They're all really important, really significant. And once they get into your head, they're going to stay with you for the rest of this life, at least. Big ideas. Mm-hmm. And really brilliant insights. And, they're coming from people who meditated deeply and saw these things. And they're coming back and sharing them with us. And it's it's a lot of fun. It's very exciting to look at these ideas. Really. So don't get too caught up. Some of the definitions are a little technical, and we'll learn the technical terms for the homeworks. But the main idea is understanding how it applies to you in your life, because they do, because it's the ultimate way to solve your problems. So you ready to go?
Let's go. So we have 19 questions to review, and please do not hesitate to write your questions or comments. Like maybe you had some questions that are not on the final exam. We will answer them too.
Are we going to try and finish this in a certain amount of time?
Yes.
How long are we going to give ourselves to talk?
1 hour and a half.
An hour and a half. Okay, so we have an hour and 20 minutes to go.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Give a brief definition of the perfection of wisdom. So that one is easy, right? The knowledge of a person of the greater way with which they perceive emptiness and which is imbued with the wish for enlightenment, bodhicitta. So be careful here. They don't say perceive emptiness directly. And of course, the ultimate one is when you perceive directly. Okay. The second one?
The second one, the root text for our study of the perfection of wisdom is the ornament of realizations. The ornament of realizations. Who spoke this work to whom? What is the estimated date of the work? And there's some Tibetan for it. Okay, so the ornament of realizations was taught by Maitreya, the Buddha to come, to master a Sangha about the year 350 AD. And so you're going to hear a Sangha's name over and over and over again. He is one of the really major giants of this lineage, along with his brother, Master Vasubandhu. And they wrote some of the earliest, most foundational text on the different Buddhist schools, some of the lower schools. And so then the question is, I mean, do I think that a Sangha really got this from the future Buddha? Do I think that that's possible? And frankly, I do. I think it's entirely possible that there are enlightened beings, that they are beyond time, and that individuals at a certain point, if they get a good enough goodness in their heart, they can be taught directly by these beings. And I know we've discussed it before. It ends up being one of these like concentric circle things, or like the layers of an onion skin, you know, like the outer layer. So we're reading a book, right? There's people in this world who've never heard of a Sangha, never heard of Buddhas. Well, we've heard of them. And now we have a book, right, where something's been written by them. And then, you know, at some point, you'll meet somebody who has talked to them, and then they can tell you, and then you'll talk to them directly, right? Like there's this, like you keep getting closer and closer and closer as your karma gets better.
Yeah, because you plant seeds, right? First, oh, I don't know who the Buddhas are. Then, oh, they were Buddhas. They were kind of enlightened beings. What does it mean, an enlightened being? Then somebody tells you what it means. You're like, pretty cool. And there were a couple ones that definitely has names, like Buddha Shakyamuni. Then maybe you meet the medicine Buddha, right? Then, oh, Jetsun Kappa was talking to them. That's cool. Then maybe some of your friends, or I don't know, teachers is talking to them. Then you come closer and closer, right? Then once your karma is great, you talk to them. And then guess what?
Yeah, and I'm suspicious that there are people in my life that I know that are talking directly to the Buddhas and cheating and writing 30,000 pages of text because they can.
translate me.
So,
and they also can say it is because of AI nowadays, right?
oh, yeah, okay. But you also see it in every culture, right? Like every tradition has stories of people who've learned directly from some sort of divine being.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because it's possible.
Like Moses was talking to the God, right?
Moses, Jesus, there's all kinds of, like Saint Francis. There's lots of different people who've had some experience of the divine that was more direct.
I tell you what, my first teacher of painting, he was talking to the God. Like his paintings that he started to do, he said, I was talking to the God and he told me to paint the, like grass and flowers.
And they say that at a certain point, everything becomes a teaching from the gods, from the divine realm. And, the sound of a river.
Yeah, and please don't take it as something strange, a fairy tale. I mean, it sounds great, but actually it comes from direct experience of people, right? Even maybe it's difficult to believe.
It's the potential. I'm going to try the light. It's a little dark. It's the potential of emptiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your life can be ordinary or it can be extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next one.
Next one is about who wrote the early Indian commentary on the ornament that forms the basis for our study, and what are his dates? Who wrote the Tibetan monastic commentary on this commentary, and what are his dates? And our children always whine about studying strange Tibetan and old Indian guys. They don't know why to learn their dates. And I think there is something that we need to do, like we need to teach them the way that they can learn, right? Maybe without names and dates, but then there should be names and dates. Why? Because you create a personal relationship with these guys. This is exactly as what we just told you, how you become this enlightened being, right? You need somebody to come and teach you, and then you can become it. So in order somebody to come and teach you, you need first to meet this person, and these commentators, did they really died, right? If they really died, how you can study from their books? Like, can they really teach you something from these books? These are all very good questions. So it is important actually to study names and dates. And the Indian commentary is the clarification of the meaning, written by Master Haribhadra, 850 years 850 AD. A small little comment, there is all the names here will be even bigger with the time that you will be studying these things, because they were writing not only this stuff, but something very cool. So, and you want to make a connection to them. Master Haribhadra.
You'll hear a Sangha more than Haribhaja, but you'll hear Haribhaja's name again.
Yeah, true. The Tibetan commentary is the analysis of the perfection of wisdom, written by a guy who wrote a lot of very good monastic books, of course, logic and other stuff, Kedrup Denpa Dargya. And his dates are 1493 and 1568. Next one.
All right. Question number 4. Give the definition of the Dharma jewel and give one example each of a cessation and a path. Okay. The formal definition of the Dharma jewel is a truth or kind of reality which relates to the greater way and to the enlightened side of the Four Truths, and which involves either a cessation or a path. So, what is a cessation? A cessation would be, for example, after you've had the direct perception of emptiness, you're never going to doubt Buddhism again. You're going to realize that everything they said was accurate. And you go through the four Arya truths, right? The truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the end of suffering, and the truth of a path to the end of suffering. And each one of those has its own set of realizations. But the cessation is, you get three cessations when you first have the direct perception of emptiness, one of which is you'll never doubt Buddhism again. And then this part is interesting. What is a path? You can reach a path before the direct perception of emptiness. There are 5 paths on the Mahayana track, right? Mm-hmm. Accumulation, preparation, the path of seeing, the path of habituation, and no more learning. And so the first 2 are prior to the direct perception of emptiness. So the path of accumulation is when you have true renunciation, when you're really tired of your problems and you want to be done with them. Mm-hmm. And then the path of preparation is when you're getting an intellectual understanding of emptiness, a high level of intellectual understanding of emptiness. And then you can actually reach a point on the path of preparation where you'll never take a lower rebirth again. Even prior to having had the direct perception of emptiness, you don't have to worry about being born in the hell realms, the ghost realms, or the animal realms.
Mm-hmm. There are actually a lot of very cool teachings related to this. Like in Abhidharma, they talk a lot about the smaller stages of these 5 paths, because how to say, you can go into these 5 paths not being a Mahayana also, right? Just mm-hmm. You don't get to reach to the Buddhahood. And there is a very cool description of when and how you can switch to Mahayana, or even, unfortunately, degrade mm-hmm. at which points. And I remember I was really inspired by what Bill just told you, that at some point you can really never be born again as an animal or a hungry ghost or a hell being. And I really wanted not to. I was asking questions like, how can I know that I really reached this cessation, right? I will never be born again as that kind of being. And actually it is related to your ethical behavior. Like when you really lead your ethical life, at some point, because of your deeds, you cannot go back again. So one of the signs will be, do you think that you have no problems with your top 10 good deeds, right? Then this is one of the signs. And another thing that is, I remember I was inspired, was that they describe in Master Vasudhan could describe in Abhidharma how it feels like when you go through this preparation stage, because if you did not see emptiness directly, but you heard the pen, then you are in the preparation stage. And he describes in details like how it goes, right? And I remember I was inspired and relieved that just before you see emptiness directly, I mean, a little bit, maybe not before, maybe sometime before you see emptiness directly, your karma gets stabilized. Like you don't have really ups and downs really bad anymore. You become happier and things become more stable. So if your life is falling apart right now, you can be inspired with this.
And that's a pretty common process, right? Like people go through these purification processes that are difficult, and then at a certain point things get better, more stable and happier. Normal part of the path.
Can you confirm it with your own life?
Oh gosh, yeah. 100%. Yeah, pretty much. The more serious I got, it's like the more my life fell apart. And the thing is I was never pushed harder than what I could handle it. It wasn't fun, but it was always challenging. You know, I was like the donkey with it in
the carrot and the stick.
Yeah, the carrot and the stick, right? So yeah. But things get better and happier.
Something that I forgot to do in the beginning, but I really wanted, you know, our friend and our student, Areta, she had a kind of an accident. She has fallen and she's going through a quite significant surgery right now because she broke her arm and probably even maybe shoulder. I don't know exactly. So I want to dedicate from my side this class to see her healthy and happy again as soon as possible. And you can do something similar. I don't know if she needs any help. She didn't reply yet to my question. Probably she's in the hospital.
She's been a very good student and the constant translator for me when we have Russian classes, Russian speaking classes. And
talking about purifications.
And living in Kiev and going through, you know, a difficult time like a lot of people in Ukraine are there.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Give the definition of taking refuge.
I like this one. I like the idea of refuge. Well, no, you can say it, but then I want to add some commentary.
Okay. The formal definition is to put, is a state of mind in which you put all your hopes on your own accord into some other object that you think can help you. And in Tibetan, it is kyamdra. You will hear it a lot.
You see all kind. Most people in my world are taking some kind of worldly refuge, right? For my dad, it was his retirement account. If he worked hard, took care of his job, he was a pilot for American Airlines for almost 30 years. And a good pilot. And he put a lot of effort into his career. He was an instructor, a management pilot, very involved, and saved his money very carefully. And for him, his refuge was his bank account and his retirement. And everything was going to be okay if he had his retirement account.
Weird that you didn't end up being hippie now that I think about it.
Well, if you ask him, I probably did. Except he's not here anymore, right? He passed away a couple of years ago. And then he had a moment. I'll share this. He knew he had cancer. He was dying slowly, and he knew he was going to die. And he'd also taken refuge in the idea that when his brain stopped, his awareness would stop, that there would just be nothing. And then there'd been an event, which is a different story, when my grandmother had died, that kind of gave us some idea that your consciousness isn't going to stop after you die. And that had happened when my mom and my dad and I were all together, and we all experienced this thing. And he didn't really pay much attention to it until a few days before he was dying. And mom said, well, what if you keep going on? And he was like, uh-oh. And so, like, you know, he was very sick, very tired by this point. And, you know, about a few days before he passed, it occurred to him, uh-oh, what if my mind does go on? What if my worldly refuge didn't work? And so that's what, you know, but he put his hopes that his retirement was going to take care of him. Worldly refuge. And you see worldly refuge in other things, right? Like food, drugs and alcohol, careers, like my dad. What else?
Husband.
Yeah. Or you know, people like young and attractive, you know, their youth.
Beauty. Now I have decided to take a course on imaging, like basically to help you with your brand, right? You need to look certain way. So I'm taking this course, and I can see women taking refuge in their attractiveness and beauty, and having hard time to see that they are slowly getting old, to be honest. I also have difficulty with this.
Social status, you know, people I'm a little more subtly, like education, you know, I'm brilliant, well educated.
Intelligence.
Yeah.
Like I'm smart, right? I remember I had lots of pride when I was young, because honestly, I was thinking everybody has it, but now I understand that I had extraordinary memory. Like I would remember everything from the first like time.
You still have a great memory.
Yeah, but the issue is I was thinking that this is mine, you know, like I will always have it. And there is a karmic seed that ripens, and usually it's a seed of you studying emptiness in your past lives.
And the problem with all of these refuges, these worldly refuges, is that the biggest problem is
they're not reliable.
Well, they don't last, right? You're going to lose. And then the second also significant problem is they're never really all that satisfying in the first place. People usually, you know, they don't solve your really big problems.
Yeah, an example is a doctor who is sick, right?
Yeah, right.
They cannot solve their problems.
And that's the brilliance of these teachings. You know, this set of wisdom is that they've described what your big problems are. You know, birth is a problem, aging is a problem, sickness is a problem, death is a problem, right? These are real problems. Can you do anything about them? Maybe, but you have to, I think you can, but you have to admit that they're a problem, right? And then you start looking at is it possible to solve them? And if so, why? And it always goes back to emptiness, cause and effect, which brilliant, really, really brilliant.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Are we actually doing good?
Yeah.
Give the definition. No,
that's not what we
describe the taking of refuge which is shared with practitioners of a lesser scope. You want to do it?
I'll read the formal definition, and then we can talk about it in a little more general way. First, you feel a personal fear that you will be reborn in one of the births of misery. I'll read that again since it's a little complex. First, you feel a personal fear that you will be reborn in one of the births of misery.
Meaning lower realms.
Yeah.
Hell being a hungry ghost or animal.
And then second, you believe that the three jewels can protect you from this suffering. Second, I'll repeat it. Second, you believe that the three jewels can protect you from this suffering. Finally, you hope that one or more of the three jewels will be able to protect you from these sufferings. And so this one, it's focused simply, you just don't want to go to a worse life than this one, right? Being human's hard enough. Problems. And you don't want more problems. These have been big enough. about all I can handle now. And then you're hoping for something that's going to be better than all the things that we just mentioned. It's going to be better than food or sex or money. You're hoping that either the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, or the Sangha jewel are going to be able to help you. That you're hoping that they know something about the whole cycle of suffering that we're caught up in that goes beyond something that's just worldly.
Yeah. And just to remind, what are the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha jewels?
Which isn't part of the actual test, but we'll discuss it anyway.
Just remind, because I bet we will have a question on this. It's the emptiness of the Buddha, right? The path when you reach cessations and you stop your mental afflictions, etc. Realizations, let's say. Realizations of emptiness. And the Sangha jewel is basically realizations of emptiness in the minds of Aryas.
Yeah, the people who've actually had the direct perception of emptiness. So, I mean, roughly speaking,
somebody will come and teach you how to to get same exact realizations and be done.
Yeah, roughly speaking, each one of the jewels is the actual thing, right? So like for the Dharma jewel, the books are the Dharma, right? Like we can sit here and read it. You get some kind of an intellectual understanding. But the actual Dharma jewel is the understanding, the direct perception of emptiness, right?
And here I think it is important to mention then that DCI is not Buddhism because of this definition. Because if you want to get something in this life, like for yourself, you know, like, I don't know, a better house or a better car or a new husband or more money, then this is not Buddhism, right? You use the knowledge of the cause and effect, but this is not Buddhism. So
then are we wasting our time with DCI?
No, because DCI has, for me, two purposes. First, it's a nice funnel to attract people who are not interested in the spiritual path, because it does work. DCI does work, right? So they will get what they want. And another thing is, if you are interested in the spiritual path, then maybe you don't want to get sick in a cold cave covered with spiders. Maybe you want to have some conditions that will be contributing, right, to you reaching all these beautiful stages on the path to enlightenment.
And they do talk about things like the direct perception of emptiness in DCI.
Yeah, totally.
Which would definitely be one of the Dharma, one of the three jewels.
It's a tricky way to trick people to do something good for them.
Skillful.
skillful means.
Yeah, useful, right? You have to teach it in a format that is approachable to people.
Also, in some countries, this will be the only format because it is non-religious, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, let's go. So what does it mean to take a refuge?
No, that's lower scope. There we
Yeah,
go.
give the detailed definition of the greater way wish for enlightenment.
This one's actually quite complex. With an interesting discussion of main mental awareness.
Okay. Okay.
You can read it.
Okay. So the formal definition, you have lots of formal definitions here, but honestly, they're all very important.
It's also like in school where you learn
the basics.
10 things and you retain 3 of them. The 3 things are what you really needed to get you through life anyway, right? You probably won't remember the formal definitions, but
until you will be teaching them.
Yeah. But the concept itself is extremely important.
Yeah, and by the way, they have to retain the formal definition because they cannot do the quizzes.
Yeah, but you have to retain it for at least 5 minutes.
Honestly, you will remember the essence, maybe not the same words, but I would really inspire you to learn word by word definition here. I mean, all the definitions to learn word by word, because usually there are no words that are useless or excessive. Like, they're all very important.
And the ACI courses will unlock the original text for you. It's really like going through these definitions. It'll give you the vocabulary and the framework to be able to read the original text, which we're getting a hold of now through the Mixed Nuts group, which is really, really exciting. I'm going through Word's Mind Only book right now.
The Golden Key.
The Golden Key.
He was so excited that he wrote to Word a couple of days ago how grateful he is that he translated this book.
Well, it's really they're historic, right? And then but the ACI courses are for a 21st century person, really the key to being able to read the 14th century books, or actually in the Blades 18th century book on earlier ones, but it's critical because, and then it becomes accessible once you've done the ACI courses. It's very difficult material, but this will open it up for you.
Yeah, and what you think is difficult today will be easy tomorrow.
Yeah,
I promise. Okay, the definition of the greater way wish for enlightenment, very important. First, it is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way.
Go slow.
Which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others, and which is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it, the aspiration to achieve total enlightenment. Second, it is a knowledge of the greater way, which acts as a door for entering the greater way, and which is included into the activity side of the standard division into the two, the view and activity. And the shorter definition that everybody usually remembers, it's a wish to achieve total enlightenment for the sake of every living being, for the sake of others. I don't feel like we need to go into details here, because we did at the class and it took us like half an hour or more.
Yeah, just briefly, because it's been something we've been discussing in the Mixed Nuts classes, the idea of a main mental awareness. And the idea is that you can't hold two ideas in your head at the same time, in your mind at the same time. And so, how can you want to achieve enlightenment for the sake of others and be having the direct perception of emptiness, right, at the same time? And
like, do you lose it when you are entering into a single pointed meditation and you perceive emptiness, right?
Yeah, would you lose bodhicitta when you go into emptiness?
Or did I lose it last night when I was sleeping?
Right. And they're going in the higher schools, they're going to say, no, you're not losing it. It's imbued. Like it's the main mind is imbued with bodhicitta.
Like stained, or colored, like you did it once with my white shirts, remember?
Oh, yeah. Like it was imbued with pink. It's both a t-shirt, a white t-shirt, and it's pink.
So, okay, and I probably want to share a realization that I had recently, because all these definitions, they seem to be abnormal, honestly, like too much. But at some point, you read it again, and there is like aha moment, oh wow. And then if you read it attentively, like it means that your mind can be focused on one thing. He just said it, right? One thing at the time. Guess what it means? You are, in a way, constantly single-pointed. Not on the things you want to be single-pointed.
Yeah.
Mainly on this stuff, around you.
We'll talk about it in the meditation course quite a bit. The difference between shamatha and Tingnan Zen, and what different types of concentration are. But part of what is exciting when you go through. Should I go get the book?
Which book?
The Fearless Blades book, the key, the golden key. It's next to the bed.
Okay. Because it's obviously in the bedroom, because guess what? We are practicing the Good Night Book Club. Okay, confession mode. Bill is a very good practitioner. I'm a bad practitioner. I have the books, but I go to bed later.
I can think about that. I'm just better about going to bed.
I still do some practices, and then I'm too tired.
These are the books that are being produced by Geshe and the Mixed Nuts groups. And how many are there? Like he's numbered them all in the back. 112.
Yeah, but including ACI books, DCI books, secret teaching books.
Yeah.
So basically like 50 something of them are of this type, and then the rest are Geshe Michael's original books and translations.
So what's really cool is that, you can see here, you can just see briefly on the text. You don't actually have to read it. But you can see, like, this is the level of discussion. There's like 200 pages on the Mind Only School.
This is the smallest book.
Well, this is the first half of this. And so when they're talking about these things, somebody, Fearless Blade, and
the author is Jigme Reldry, the Fearless Blade,
and then writing on a commentary by Jason Kappa, but these people, wow, they really had something extraordinary go on. Their understanding of the Mind Only School is really, really profound, really exciting to see. And then, like, I remember when I was in college and looking at this, and I'm like, either this is the world's greatest fantasy novel with the most in-depth world ever designed.
Except there were so many people writing the novels of the same genre.
Right. Yeah, it's like It's like, yeah, what, like dozens and dozens of people way smarter than Tolkien wrote a fantasy novel, or it's actually true and they saw something, right, in meditation, and it's super cool to see the depth that it goes to.
Yeah. And to understand these books, you need to study ACI, and you're doing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the next question.
Okay, yeah, that was fun.
Describe the two types of the wish for enlightenment. If you know two different ways to divide in the wish into two, you may write either one. So the first way to divide the wish into two types is first the wish in the form of intention, prayer, or I really hope I can help every living being, right? I really hope. I really want to do it. And thinking like bodhisattva, right? Second is the wish in the form of action. You are engaging into activities of bodhisattva, like you start to do something. And sometimes we say that it is before you take your bodhisattva vows and after you have taken, because then guess what? You have all this heavy karmic stuff now that is in your being, and either you have to act as a bodhisattva or you will have karmic consequences of not taking the actions and you promised to, right? So that's the first one. The second one is the wish in its deceptive form, meaning the wish as it is normally spoken, I want to help every living being, right? And it means that it is focused on the deceptive reality and not on the ultimate truth. And the wish in its ultimate form, it is actually the code word for the direct perception of emptiness. It means that you have this ultimate wish after you perceived emptiness directly. Anything to add now?
No, my mind was...
I think this one is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Right? Give the definition of nirvana.
Yeah, this is again one of those terms where people will confuse nirvana and enlightenment. And not if you're in the ACI courses, right?
Not for ACI students.
Nirvana is a goal of the lower way. It's individual. There are schools of thought out there that say that only nirvana is possible, that it's not possible to accomplish anything for other people. But here, I'll read the formal definition for you. Nirvana is defined as the permanent cessation in which one has eliminated the mental affliction obstacles in their entirety due to one's individual analysis. And so, one more time, because it's complex, it's technical. By
the way, we have decided to say when it's complex, we should say easy.
Easy, okay, yeah, this one's really easy.
Very easy.
It's super easy. So the definition is the permanent cessation in which one has eliminated the mental affliction obstacles in their entirety due to one's individual analysis. Okay, so a permanent cessation. What you've done is you've eliminated the mental afflictions. Anger, jealousy, ignorance are the root, right? In the center of the little life. Well, there's 84,000 of them, which is, again, an ancient term for
many.
Big, for tongues. But the root of them are ignorance and, specifically ignorance about cause and effect, doubt. And so you achieve a peace after that, right? Like you're never tormented. Anytime that there's any disturbance in your mind, anything uncomfortable, that's a mental affliction. And then you're going to be totally free from it. And then there's a discussion about, well, what does it look like after that happens? And then a long discussion. I think we may get to it here. But it's coming after you don't have a permanent cessation until after the direct perception of emptiness. You can go a long way eliminating your mental afflictions with an intellectual understanding of emptiness and cause and effect. But you don't get a permanent cessation, a permanent ending until the direct perception of emptiness. And that's the four Arya truths that we were talking about. That's the individual analysis is an individual analysis of the four truths. And then each one of those truths, and I'll go through it again, the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the end of suffering, and the truth of the path to the end of suffering. And each one of those has individual realizations inside of it. And then after you've had the direct perception of emptiness, for about the next 24 hours, you're going through all these conceptual realizations, right? Because in the direct perception of emptiness, it's non-conceptual. You're not thinking, oh, wow, I am having the four Arya truths, because that's conceptual, right?
And it happens after also.
Yeah. What happens is you're having this non-conceptual, direct yogic perception of emptiness. And then you come back out and your conceptions have returned. You're labeling things again. And that's when you go through this process of seeing all of these higher truths, all of these Arya truths. And that's going to lead to the elimination of your mental afflictions, because you're finally really understanding the nature of your reality and your own mind. It's super cool. It's super profound.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Should we go to the next?
So nirvana, not enlightenment.
Yeah. Just if you are talking to people of other traditions, they can mix these terms, nirvana and enlightenment, and also they can say enlightenment, like Theravada, for example, they say enlightenment, but actually if you will ask them to give the definition, there will be no omniscience, right? Then it's not the enlightenment.
Yeah, you still, if you only reach nirvana, you still have subtle obstacles to omniscience. You haven't reached full Buddhahood. You're in peace. It's very pleasant. It's almost like you're asleep. But
except you're aware.
Except and they say that eventually those people will have to be woken up and brought to full enlightenment.
Yeah. And also something practical, like if you have hard time, if you have problems, like you can do for several days, just before going to bed, or maybe just when you wake up, just do a short, like mini meditation, trying to imagine how your life would look like if you would not be capable of experiencing any pain, any mental afflictions. Like, can you imagine? Like, no anger, no jealousy, no sadness, no fear, no doubts, cannot be bored, like nothing negative at all, like cut off. And what left, right? Happiness.
And initially, after the direct perception of emptiness, you can get rid of your mental afflictions, but that's the discussion of nirvana with and without remainder. So you can still have a physical body and feel pain, after the direct perception of emptiness. But you're just not getting angry about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not creating new negative mental seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
yep.
And then quickly, when you think of, well, what is enlightenment? Enlightenment is synonymous with Buddhahood. To be enlightened is to be a Buddha. And to be a Buddha is to have the three bodies of a Buddha, right? Well, you can divide it in different ways, right? There's all, you can divide it into, there's many different systems for dividing it. But basically,
Dharmakaya?
Yeah, you have the Dharmakaya, which is the wisdom body. You have the Nirmanakaya,
emptiness and wisdom,
which is the emanation that's like throughout samsara, you could emanate into samsara for other beings. And then you have the pleasure body, the Sambhogakaya. So
okay, let's go, my love.
Yeah, okay. Well, we got 30 minutes. Yeah, we're about more than halfway. We're doing okay.
What does individual analysis mean here? Basically, in the definition of nirvana, right? It's a total cessation of your mental afflictions in the entirety through individual analysis. So what it means is that once you had your realization of emptiness, you start to analyze your own life using this knowledge, right? Using these realizations. And all these details of the four Arya truths, they are like, you are mapping them in your life, right? And you change your behavior, you don't plant bad seeds, right? And then gradually you reach nirvana. But actually individual analysis means that you think about your life, your actions, your thoughts, your words, comparing to the realizations of emptiness that you got.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go next one.
And we'd already jumped ahead and discussed this one a bit. Number 11, describe the difference in this school, which is the Majjhimika Svatantrika. So Majjhimika Svatantrika is the lower part of the highest way, the lowest part, there's
of the middle way.
Of the middle way. So there's Svatantrika and Prasangika, Majjhimika Prasangika. The sometimes called the independent group and the consequence group. But the lower part of the highest way. This is the 50-50 school, that the world is half coming from you and half outside of you. Very sophisticated, actually. So the question, describe the difference in this school, the Majjhimika Svatantrika, between nirvana with something left over and nirvana with nothing left over. And this is what we were talking about before. There's a debate about, in the different schools, about what happens when you achieve nirvana. Do you retain your body? Do you not retain your body? You no longer have mental afflictions. And so then can you have this physical body, that's impure, right? Like everything in samsara is mixed, black and white, right? It's got some impurities in it. And if you're free from mental afflictions, can this physical body in this world still exist? And in the Svatantrika school, in the middle way independent group, they're going to say that, yes, you still do have a body initially, because it's your old bad seeds that are there and they haven't worn out yet. So even though you aren't creating any new negative karma, you still have the old negative karma that created this body. And so that's the nirvana with something left over. And then you'll reach a point where you have nirvana with nothing left over, that this body will be gone. Okay. And then you'll also see people, meditators, they're here in the United States. You can read their writings, and when you understand what they're doing, they're reaching form realm and formless realm levels of meditation, writing about it being very pleasant. They think they're getting to nirvana. They're not. They're reaching a pleasant place, still very much in samsara.
So they basically confuse pleasure and nirvana.
Yeah, exactly. And the difference between, is the end of your mental afflictions pleasurable? Well, yes, it is. But it's completely free of afflictions. The pleasure that they're feeling still is going to have, they're not free of their mental afflictions because they haven't had the direct perception of emptiness. They've gotten to a better place in samsara.
Or now I understand. My very first teacher this lifetime, he was making jokes. He said that there are some people that think that they're enlightened. You should just have a big pencil, you know, like with how you call it, acute.
The point.
With the, you know,
the point.
With the point, and you just should come to them from the behind, you know, and poke, and then you will see whether they reach nirvana or
not. And the places they're reaching are genuinely pleasurable. And boy, once they reach them, forget about it. They're done. You're not going to convince them that what they're experiencing isn't better than this life. It is, but then they're done. It's going to be very hard to get them to look for anything deeper.
It's so pleasurable, right? I heard about people who stop eating mostly because they tend to spend it, like it's like on drugs, right?
Some of the descriptions are very bizarre. Like they'll actually lose their emotions, and they're happy to have lost their emotions.
Okay. So the next one is there is a kind of nirvana called nirvana which does not stay. Oh, by the way, in the highest school, we say that first you reach nirvana with nothing left over, right? And then you come out of your direct perception of emptiness because, but this is a different story. And then you have nirvana with something left over because you have your body back. Okay, there is a kind of nirvana called which does not stay. Nirvana which does not stay. What is the meaning of the phrase does not stay? And this is in this context does not stay is to describe nirvana of a totally enlightened being. So a totally enlightened being, the Buddha, of course, he is in nirvana, just he does not have only nirvana, right? He also has other stuff like omniscience and other cool things. And it means that they, the Buddhas, do not stay neither in the extreme of suffering life, in the cycle, in the samsara, and they do not stay in the lower peace, nirvana, that is not total enlightenment. Nirvana of a person of a lower path, of Hinayana path, right?
And they, starting on the 8th level, the 8th bodhisattva level, the 8th bhumi, you can be in the direct perception of emptiness and seeing samsara at the same time. So you can have both the non-conceptual awareness of emptiness and at the same time be aware of the labeling, be aware of the conceptual world, which is, that's extraordinary, right? So when that happens shortly before you get fully enlightened at the 8th stage.
It's like you become a cool computer, you know, like
yeah,
realizing so many things, right? Very cool. Okay, let's go. Describe the 3 main parts of the method for achieving nirvana. Very famous, by the way.
What, you want to cover this?
No, that's easy. I can do it.
Okay.
So first you become, actually it is about your training to reach nirvana, right? First, you become a master of extraordinary training in wisdom. Second, you ensure that it is imbued with two other extraordinary trainings. You probably can guess what. It's about meditation and ethics. You become a master of wisdom, and it is imbued with ethics and morality and meditation, meditative concentration. And then become extremely familiar with the realizations of emptiness that you already had. It means that you habituate yourself to these ideas about emptiness because of your direct experience. That's it.
Study, keep your morality, meditate.
Yeah. And then you see emptiness directly and you apply what you have seen to your life. Mm-hmm. That's it. Easy. Next one.
Why is it important to identify the object that we deny? Yeah. Why do we care? It's something that...
This is the most word from this course, probably. The most important.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, every question.
One of them.
they're all like big,
but very practical.
I mean, all of these are like foundation course is really a great term for these courses, because every single one of these things is a major piece of the foundation that you're going to build this house on.
Yeah. Okay. All of them are like cornerstones.
Yeah. You've got 50 corners, 100 corners.
You can build a palace like that. Why not?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
The gotcha.
The object we deny.
Okay, so what is a gotcha?
I think it's a purple elephant.
Yeah, right. Well, it's something, but a gotcha is a self-existent thing. It's something that has its own characteristics from its own side, and that everybody, everywhere, anytime, whoever experience that object would have the exact same experience of it.
Yeah, and the object is not changing, constantly illuminating its essence, right? Etc. Completely impossible.
I'll read the formal definition that's here. Or the formal answer. If we don't know what a self-existent object would look like, if it did exist, then we could never come to realize emptiness, since it consists of the absence of this non-existent thing. This self-existent object is known as the object that we deny. And so then you're looking for something that that would be self-existent. Why? Because, if it is, then maybe things really aren't empty the way we think they are. But if you can't find it, it's part of your intellectual understanding that's going to help trigger the direct perception of emptiness.
And this example would be in order to think that, there is no telephone in my pocket, you need to know how the telephone looks like. That's it, easy.
Yeah.
And once you know the gotcha, how the gotcha looks like, then you know how the emptiness, the ultimate reality will look like, because it's absence.
And again, emptiness is important because if nothing has any qualities of its own, then they could be anything, right? It means you can change it. And it means that if there's something in your world that you don't like, that's a problem. And then if you can change it, then you can solve that problem. So if things are empty, you don't have to be experiencing what you're experiencing now. It can be something different.
Yeah. You're not the victim anymore.
You're not the victim. You're in fact, you realize that you were creating it all yourself anyway. So critical, right?
Explain the three different perceptions of the three different people in the metaphor of the magic show. Who are the three types of real people that these three represents? So the story is easy. A magician from India that Geshe Michael stayed. We've never been to India. We're going to go there.
Yeah, we're going this fall.
This fall to study Tibetan at Serame Monastery.
It was one of my lifetime goals to never go to India. I failed. I think I'm gonna fail.
He told me, I think on the very first day I met him, that definitely he does not want to go to India.
No, I mean, just the idea of the poverty there and having to witness it is a little overwhelming.
Yeah, well, we have to do it because we want to help more. Anyway. So in India, they say that there are these magicians and they have some kind of powder. They show you a stick or something, an object, and then they use their spell and they use their powder on the spectators, how you call it?
Yeah, spectators, the audience.
Spectators. And then out of a sudden, spectators, they start to see something like a horse or an elephant. You know, in India, they afraid of wild elephants because they can be quite wild, right? And you don't know what to expect. And then other people come like that didn't had this powder or mantras, you know, spells, and they say like there's no elephant, there is no horse, there's just a stick. And so this has some connotation to people who have seen emptiness directly and who didn't see emptiness directly, like the magician themselves, they do see the elephant or a horse, not a stick, because they are also under the spell. And they are like Aryas who have seen emptiness directly, who do not believe what they see. They know that the horse is not real, but they still see the horse. Then the spectators, the public who was there from the very beginning, they're just normal people who just out of a sudden start to see horses or elephants, and they see it and they believe it. So they see gakchas and they believe into gakchas, right? They believe that things are self-existent from there, coming from their own side. And the audience that is late, like late spectators, they did not have this, they were not under this spell, right? And they do not see a stick as a horse, and they do not believe that this is a horse like the other audience. So who they are like somebody who is in direct perception of emptiness, but not a Buddha yet, since neither appears as self-existent to them, nor they believe they are self-existent. And Tibetan would be Sosokyevo. You probably heard a lot this word from Geshe Michael. He uses it a lot, like an ordinary being who did not see emptiness directly. Jetop Jansem Pakpa is the Arya who went through the Jetop Yeshe, right? Post subsequent wisdom, these realizations after you have seen emptiness directly. And Tonyin Munsum Du Tokpe Lopa. This is a non-Buddha who is in direct perception of emptiness. The next one.
We got 12 minutes for 4 questions.
Let's run.
Unfortunately, this one's complex.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see.
Then the later ones, I think, are easy. Write out the reasoning called the emptiness of one or many. So again, this one's formal, so I will read it.
That one is easy.
consider the three kinds of knowledge. They don't exist truly because they neither exist truly as one thing, nor do they exist truly as many things. They are, for example, like a reflection of an image in a mirror. And so we can talk for a few minutes about this. So the three kinds of knowledge, the direct perception of emptiness by somebody on the lower way, the direct perception of emptiness by somebody with bodhicitta who's still on the path, and full enlightenment, a Buddha. So an Arya, a bodhisattva still going through the 10 levels, and a fully enlightened being. And so the three kinds of knowledges, they do not exist truly. And so they're talking about the emptiness of these realizations. And it used to, I had a hard time for a long time. I could see how things didn't exist as one thing, right? I mean, you can take yourself, the object I would continually use is myself. It's like, okay, well, I get it. I'm not one thing, right? Because like if I lose my finger, I'm still Bill. I'm Bill without a finger, but I'm still Bill, right? I mean, you could take parts away. And so then, you know, am I one thing or two things? Well, okay, I'm clearly not one thing, because, you know, that one thing can change. But then many things. Well, okay, I am many things. Like if you take these many things and put them together, then, well, why isn't that Bill? And then that took me a long time. It's like, well, what am I if I'm not my parts? You know, and then it's because those parts don't become Bill until my mind labels them Bill. It's not until my mind does that they become Bill. And that's like the reflection in a mirror, right? Somebody who doesn't know thinks that reflection in the mirror is self-existent, but it doesn't happen until something shines into the mirror. It's not in the mirror itself, right? It's like there was in retreat, there was a cardinal at Ben and Ben's house, Ben Kramer.
Cardinal?
It's a red bird.
Oh, the red bird cardinal.
It was very aggressive, and it would see the reflection of itself in the mirror, and it thought it was in its territory, and it would fight with the reflection in the mirror. And that's what we're all doing. All of us, every human who hasn't had the direct perception of emptiness is fighting with the mirror, right? The difference is that, like, we might be smart enough, we're smart enough to look in a mirror and know that the cardinal wasn't smart enough. The only thing is our world's a little more complex. The mirror is showing us what got reflected in it in the past, and we're not clever enough yet to connect it, or we're starting to get clever enough to connect it. But the mirror is our mind projecting something out. It's an image. It doesn't exist until it's projected out. And so that's why you aren't many, that it doesn't exist until it's been projected. And
also, I think it is important to remember that this is a Madhyamika Svatantrika school where they say that something exists if there is a reasonable basis, so they're all stuff, and somebody perceives
that's Prasangika.
No.
Yeah, that's Prasangika.
50 self-existent.
50-50 is Svatantrika.
Yeah.
And then, but the Prasangikas are going to say that when you go looking for the reasonable basis, you can't find it.
Yeah, but the reasonable basis in Prasangika you're witnessing our everyday life right now.
And by the way, like even the great scholars would argue, no, 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 no.
Yeah, because he's teaching me by taking an incorrect point of view.
I think I'm correct. Let's leave that. We've got 6 minutes. Let's leave the discussion.
So in Prasangika, the reasonable basis is also being projected, and in Svatantrika, it is existing out there.
Yeah,
that's why 50-50.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I would say that's fair enough.
So in Svatantrika, it is not enough something to exist if there is no witness, right?
Mm.
So you have always this thing with the parts. Somebody is looking at the parts, and then until the mind connects the parts, the object does not exist. This is what happens here. This is why you may have problems to understand this this proof.
And so does it function? If it's empty, does it function? Well, it only functions because it's empty. It can only change, it can only do what it does because it's empty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So don't worry, we have.
And listen again to class 9 if you have issues with this proof.
And it's completely normal to be confused about emptiness, and it takes quite a bit of time to get some kind of intellectual understanding of it. I'm still going. We'll be going until I've achieved total enlightenment. And so it's we'll keep talking about it.
Okay, so I cannot find this one. Why? Oh, that's interesting. I don't see it in. Why is it true that if something has parts, it cannot be one thing which really exists?
Oh,
it's not there.
It is there. It's the second part. He cut off the first part of the question, so you're not finding it. Hang on.
I think just a moment. I got a bit lost here. Why? Well, if I don't see it actually. Anyway, I can say in my words.
Okay.
Why is it true that if something has parts, it cannot be one?
Here you go. It's two.
Oh, okay.
It's class 9, question number 2.
Okay, I see.
He left off the first part of the sentence, so you have to find it.
Okay. So why is it true that if something has parts, it cannot really exist? Because when we say, I mean, this is probably was my very first big realization on this proof of emptiness. And honestly, I was doing the class like probably 8 years ago or so. And I taught several times homeworks, and we taught ACI 2 now, and still I have new realizations coming. So this is how it works. And the very first one is like, it was shocking. Like none of things that you see is the way you think it exists. I have a tendency to think that I have one phone, you know, this is complete, kind of has some completeness, or I don't know how you would say it in English, like uniqueness, like oneness. You know, like this is one thing. I think it's a telephone, right? I think this is one thing. It's a cable. This is one thing. It's, I even do not call it one. I call it glasses, but I think it's one, right? But actually, none of it is one, because it has parts. And when you try to see parts, like right now, I'm looking at one part, and you are looking at another part of the same thing, right? Now I will change. Up. I can never look at the whole thing at once, but in my mind, I'm holding this object complete, right? Somebody is filling the gaps, and somebody does a very bad job of filling the gaps, because this is also one thing. I think it's one thing, and this one thing with the gaps filled has to die. So why wouldn't I fill the gaps in a different way? Like, this is an enlightened thing, you know, that does not have to die. And if a thing has parts, it cannot be one. You see, it's so simple, it's shocking.
Yeah, Nagarjuna had a really good discussion of this.
Yeah. So nothing can exist independent on its parts, right? And and we cannot see all the parts, so it cannot exist the way we think, because the mind has to organize it. This is the main idea.
It's too bad we ran out of time, because this is really a fun discussion about looking for parts and things and different levels of reality. But we'll do it another course.
Yeah.
Two more questions.
So a single object cannot exist unless you project something onto the parts to collect them. Like, basically, all the scattered stuff in the universe, your mind is collecting. Like, this collection will be called a chair. This collection, I will call it a computer. This collection, I will call it my husband Bill. This collection is a telephone. You see, like, totally random parts my mind collects. That's it.
Everything has like a left, a middle, a right, can be broken down into something smaller.
Yeah. Okay. More information, class 9.
Yes.
Let's go. Oh, that's a cool one.
Oh, then you read it.
In the section of the commentary known as the text of Maitreya, a debater comes and argues that Maitreya has no state of mind aspiring to fulfill his own needs, and so he has written the ornament of realizations only for the sake of others. Perhaps the debater is assuming that Maitreya is already a Buddha. If he does assume this, what mistake has he made? And I think we need to say that everybody is surprised when they come to class 10 here, because what was, okay, I understand the perfection of wisdom, then emptiness, different scopes, refuge, 3 jewels, then what comes next? Nirvana. Okay, it might make sense, like logically it makes sense. And then you can reach nirvana only if you see emptiness directly. Then it makes sense that you have the proof of emptiness, because the more you will understand, the more proofs you will be able to understand, the closer you come to perceive emptiness directly. Okay, it does make sense then. What? Maitreya? And this is the realization that Bill had, remember? Because we were not sleeping, like I was not sleeping till 3 a.m. You woke up because you were like, you had this, like, why these 3 knowledges, like, and you may hear that somebody may say that it doesn't matter 3 knowledges or what. It does matter. Everything that enlightened being says, sorry, translators, I slow down. Everything matters. So this is, you want to explain why he took 3 knowledges?
No, you keep going. I was thinking about something else while you were talking.
Okay, so the knowledge of the past of who? Of a person of a lower capacity, right? Who is going to reach nirvana. The knowledge of a person who is who has seen emptiness directly on the lower path, a person who has seen emptiness on the Mahayana path.
Lower.
I'm getting excited, sorry. And a knowledge, the knowledge of the Buddha. And then he discusses that they do not exist really, actually, because, as you know, nothing can exist really that has parts. It means that they are being projected by you, these three knowledges, right? You are bridging the gaps. You are feeling the backside of the person that you see, etc. And if they are empty, if they do not exist from their own side, then you can project something else, right? Then you can really reach it. If something has parts, it is empty. If it is empty, you can do it. And this is why he talks about Maitreya in the last class, right? So what is the mistake of the debater, right? First, the debater mixes the open teachings and secret teachings, because in secret teachings, we consider Maitreya as a Buddha and not in the open teachings, right? And second, he, even if he is the Buddha already, he still can work for his own needs, not only for sake of others, because the Buddhas, they want to continue to be enlightened, to stay enlightened, right? So it is a double mistake, right? That's it. Easy.
One thing on a practical level, talking about projecting, the Dharma, the three paths, the knowledges, it'll get easier for you over time. I've seen in my life, it started out complex, dense, and then it gets easier. And so even if it seems difficult now, keep going, it'll open up for you later. It'll change.
Yeah. And again, if you do not understand something, please do not get discouraged, because it was in the same way for every one of us. And then you have this impression that you bump in the wall with your head, and it doesn't really open. And then, but every time you bump, there is a small crack in the wall. And then the day will come, boom, no wall. And you really can understand it.
And then when you start understanding this one, then there's a harder one after this one. It's true.
Yeah. Okay. And so this whole course, actually, course 2 was designed by Geshe Michael to show you the whole path, how you will reach enlightenment, because the last question is about what? About secret teachings. So you had what did we start with? Perfection of wisdom, refuge, jewels, nirvana. You have to see emptiness directly in order to get there, and you will be stupid if you will go lower nirvana, right? Better go right to the point from the very beginning. And then proof of emptiness, that is extremely profound. Please just try to understand it, and it will open up with the time. And then Maitreya, you can actually, if all these three knowledges are empty, you can reach it, right?
The future Buddha. Maitreya, the future Buddha.
The future Buddha. And then the last question is always for me is the most important one. I think, what will he put, Geshe Michael, as the last question? Because usually it's the key. And he says, the 8th century Master Dharmakirti, in his root text on Buddhist logic out of all texts, says that 2 elements must be present for Tantra to work. Name them, right? First, the person who was spoken the Tantra must be a being of exceptional spiritual power. And the person who practices the Tantra must be someone who is leading a very pure life. That's it.
Logic. I love that, not frankly because I love logic, but I love the fact that this is all logical. They're not asking you to just believe something. You get to examine it. You get to look at it. You get to look at how you look at things. And okay, is that logical? Have I been approaching the problems in my life logically? And they're saying that if you approach the problems, all of them, any of them, logically, you can solve them. And then how are you going to do it? Well, if you're going to practice the higher ways, you have to be keeping your morality, and you have to be getting something from some being of exceptional power. And is it possible that there's a being of exceptional spiritual power? Is it possible? That's the same thing as asking, are things empty?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's it for today.
Mm-hmm.
We do not say anything at the end of the class because we have unfinished job.
9 minutes over.
And the next Sunday, same time. Oh, is it same time or not same time? Not same time. It's what? Let me think. 8:30 European time, I guess. Yeah, in the evening.
We'll look at the times. We can confirm the times.
We invite you for the public talk. You can invite your friends because we want really to explain why meditation is important and give some cool stories about our life, especially Bill's life, because he has his incredible experience with his 3-year retreat. So it will be a public talk, 13 benefits of meditation. And if you have some kind of business or work the job, it will be really helpful for you to know them.
So the introductory talk next weekend is meant for a general audience, talking about meditation and what it is and why you want to meditate, why you want to take your precious time to meditate. And then after that, we'll be teaching ACI Course 3, which is the ACI Traditional Buddhist teachings on meditation. Then after that, we're going to offer an additional course with more instruction on how to actually go through the different levels of meditation, the problems at each stage, and the goals that you're trying to reach, and techniques for doing it through each stage. Like really, it'll be, as Geshe likes to say lately, a deeper dive into how to actually meditate.
So stay tuned. Next Sunday, the 2nd of June. Oh, thank you. There is a registration page in the chat. It will be 8:30 European time in the evening, 11:30 Arizona time in the morning. And the course 3 starts on the 7th of June, 7 to 9 and 14 to 16, 14 to 16. And if you happen to be in the US and you want to come, it will be actually offline. The public talk on the 2nd of June will be offline in not far away here in Skokie Library. And the 3 days, 14 to 16, you can subscribe to an offline event.
It will be both offline and online.
Yeah, online
both,
always. Yeah,
both of those. Yeah.
Okay, and I want to thank ACI headquarters team, the director, who is always very helpful, and we are very grateful for his support. To Yelena Smirnova, who is a coordinator of the technical team, and she is the one who is who's behind the scene, but is the main actually person who is coordinating all of that, and all the group leaders, translators, recording assistants, and other technical people. Thank you very much for helping. Please be happy about the seeds you plant, because it's a big deal what you're doing. you're helping other people in the best way possible, to be honest. And of course, thank you to Geshe Michael, who is the one who made these teachings possible.
Yeah.
And
the longer I sit with the ACI courses for 24 years now, the more I appreciate just how brilliant they were.
yeah.
So, and thank you everybody for helping us bring this to you. Thank you for coming so that we have somebody to teach to, but you're right, the merit field, we greatly appreciate everybody here.
Okay. Thank you. See
and
you.
Only 15 minutes over.
Yeah, only 15 minutes over. Bye.
Пока-пока.